Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Casattya. I'm your girl Irene TTYA, and for those of you that are new here, you're in for a treat. No, I'm joking. We talk about all things lifestyle and home renovation. I previously renovated my single story rear back extension in my personal project, and I'm now onto my first renovation rental property. I don't know if I should be saying that the other way around. Is it rental renovation property or renovation rental property? Anyway, either or, you get the gist. The huge difference is that obviously when you are dealing with your own personal home, it's a residential, you are going to be living in it. And guys, the costs are really costing. I've had some time to start tallying up some numbers, and I think I'll do like a debrief when we do like the final reveal on just like costings and where I feel like things are overinflated versus residential versus rental. But let's just stick to the topic at hand. So, catch-up update. Things are happening, as you know, is my favorite phrase to say. But before we get into everything, if you're not already subscribed, please hit that notification button, that subscription button. You know, we wanna be able to share the love and to share the knowledge. Let me get into it. We're drifting more into the creative side, which is the side that I love. I'm really excited to start to think about like what the kitchen setup is gonna be, like how do I want the decor to look. You would have seen from my previous episode that I went to B&Q and I made a custom colour. And so the rooms are starting to be painted. It's starting to come to life. The loft is pretty much done. So I think it's a good template for what the rest of the house is going to look like. We're slowly getting there. With renovating, I'm always trying to think about ways that I can save money, but I definitely do believe in not cutting corners and cutting costs. From my personal experience, it only comes back to bite you in the bum a bit later. So I definitely am not one of those penny pinchers that I'm just like, let's just do a bad job and it will do. And I think, to be honest, I'm actually probably the opposite end of the Richter scale, almost to the point of my own detriment, where the builders are just like, it's not that deep, it's not that serious. And I'm like, it is that deep, it is that serious. For me, it's always important to make sure that whatever I'm doing is done to a high standard. We're using quality products and it's done for a long lasting effect. The last thing you want is to put tenants in a house and then 2 weeks later you're having issues. I've been really particular on like making sure that things are done to a standard where I would want to live there. I know people always say remove the emotion, but I honestly just don't believe in that. Like, I would never want to create something that I wouldn't feel comfortable living in myself and just be like, yeah, it will do kind of vibe. That's been my strategy. I'm still on brand. I'm still on that lane. I'm still staying in that lane, and maybe by the time I cost everything up and I'm just like funke, but I don't see it changing my mind, because I definitely do think that in the crisis of how we're living at the moment, and after you're paying such high interest rates, the last thing that you want is to create something that's just poor quality. The mortgage rates be mortgage rated. You might as well create something that's to a good standard. So I'm looking at the moment of like, you know, getting quotes in to paint. The quotes are coming in at about anywhere between 3,500 to up to, I've had quotes up to 8,000. I decided that where we've kind of used fresh plaster and replastered the whole house, I thought I'd miscoat. And I spoke a little bit about it on the last episode, on episode 6, about miscoating and calling myself a renovator. But also it's like, miscoating is so important. So whenever you use fresh plaster, you have to miscoat. It allows the plaster to absorb the moisture, and then it allows for just like a really smooth, clean finish when you do your final paint coats on top. But I am finding that, you know, the costings for a miscoat and then to do 2 coats of paint, finish the whole house, are coming in really expensive. So I thought, you know what, it will take me 1 weekend to miscoat. I'm just gonna bang it out myself and miscoat all the rooms. And that's what I did, guys. I miscoated myself, because otherwise they're gonna charge you a fee to miscoat. And I thought, okay, I don't want to cut corners. I want to get professionals that are really good at their jobs. If it means having to pick up some of the slack myself to be able to afford for the finish to be where I want it to do, then I was happy to do that. Do you know what? I actually find painting quite therapeutic. I think as long as you've got your tunes on or listening to a good podcast, I actually find it quite therapeutic. The electrics are in. We were testing it as I was miscoating. And then there was lights. It was good to kind of have electrics on in the property because we've been using lights, torches, whilst the house has been rewired. So I always speak about the house happening in 2 phases. So the loft, everything to do with the loft was done in one package. So that was like electrics, plumbing, like you know, flooring, like everything up there was done within its own entirety. So there was one team, and then I was using a separate team to do the rest of the house. So the people that did my loft, they just do lofts. They're basically loft connoisseurs. So I had to have a separate team who were able to kind of manage the internal works. So again, I'm just trying to slowly get this side to match up to this side. I'm really excited. Things seem to be moving. I am getting a bit anxious now because it's almost like you can see the end of the finish line. You know, you can see you're almost there, but then when you list everything that still needs to be done, like I'm a queen of lists, it still feels like there's so much to get done. The end is in sight in terms of, okay, we're phasing into the decoration. However, I'm looking at my to-do list and it's still looking very peak, guys. So let me not lie. I touched on it at the beginning and I was saying about like how I'm really excited for the design process. The kitchen is something that I always feel like is the hub of the home. Being Nigerian, I think in our culture, it is very much based around like food and family and entertainment and faji, which we call party, and having a good time. I've always taken a really big interest on what the setup of the kitchen would be, and is it functional, is it feasible, how far away from the sink is the dishwasher, where's the cutlery drawer, just like things like that. Like how easy is it to navigate around that kitchen, is there sufficient storage, how am I going to make this still feel cozy but, you know, really allow the tenants to have, like I said, storage and it to be functional. Those were kind of like the real key pillars for me when I was going into this Howdens meeting. So shouts out to Howdens. I'm definitely going to Howdens to get my kitchen done. My main values going into this meeting is functionality and storage. If I can nail those two things, then I think I'll be in a good place. When I costed it up, I thought it was more cost effective to source my own appliances, only because there's actually a sale on at the moment. The great thing about like summer sales in June is that, you know, you're able to get really good discounts. And I just felt like looking at AO and Currys and some of the bigger outlets, actually Currys had the best deals on in terms of appliances. So for me, I just felt like it was more cost effective for me to like source my own appliances and just get the larders, the unit from Howdens. So that's what I'm going to do. And again, guys, it's like find out, like do your research, look into it, get the prices from your kitchen supplier, have a look online, see if there's any deals at the moment, see if there's any extended warranty periods. I ended up getting all my appliances from Currys because they were doing extended warranty on appliances. They were doing a summer sale. They were just had the best costs for the marketplace compared to competitors such as Argos and AO. I've gone for like products that I felt visually fit into the aesthetic of the kitchen. 2 are durable, considering I'm going to have tenants, and 3 had extended warranty periods. Again, that's not a plug, that's not an ad. This is me just telling you guys what my real and truthful experience was. So the great thing about Howdens is that the kitchens actually, if they're in stock, you can get kitchens, then you can get your kitchen delivered the next day. Like it's so quick. I opted to take a week so that I had enough time to just make sure that everything was prepped and ready, that the plaster was completely dry. We'd done some paint bits where things were going to be a bit more visible. So I wanted to make sure that they weren't going to be too awkward to get to after the units went in. So I was keen to prepare the best way possible. I did get Amy from Howdens to come down to the house just for final measures, just because, unfortunately, guys, I was away when the boiler went in, and the boiler unit is actually in the kitchen, whereas the cylinder I've managed to tuck it in away in a separate cupboard. But when I did my personal house, I had a big enough utility where I housed my washing machine, the cylinder, the boiler unit all in one place. But unfortunately, the layout of this property didn't allow me to do that. So when I was designing the kitchen, I had to really think about how I was going to incorporate the design to go around the boiler unit, because I wanted it to still, I didn't want you to be able to tell basically that the boiler unit was there. That was challenge number 1. Challenge number 2 was the house is an old house, and the walls, even after plastering, are not completely straight. So there's still a bit of flexibility which needs to be handled on the installation. So whether that means putting ply at the back or like looking at different ways to balance out the unit so that they're level, all of these things had to be taken into consideration. So just to make sure that I had completely done it correctly myself, because essentially when you go to your meeting at Howdens, you take your measurements there. Imagine like you were a centimetre off or 5 centimetres off, or like hadn't measured your head height correctly. Like I just wanted to be triple sure that everything was as I said it was. So I asked Amy to come down just to triple check on my measurements and just to make sure that everything will be as we think it's going to be. Because again, everything's CAD'd up. So everything's done in 3D. You're able to see visually what your kitchen is going to look like based on the measurements that you give them. If your measurements are incorrect, lo and behold, when that kitchen gets delivered, it's going to be a shambles. Gonna look a bit like an untamed lamb, but alas, an untamed lion. Basically, I've had to go to Howden's because I wasn't happy with the way that the design had been wrapped around the boiler. So they had designed it using 2 end panels to kind of block the boiler out, but then the top would have been open. And yes, it needs ventilation, but I just felt like it didn't look clean. So I've changed the design a little bit, and I've just gone and got 2 larder. Well, I went to get a larder unit, which I will cut to fit. So in my head, it makes sense. But alas, we will see. But yeah, had to squeeze it in the car. As the builder, as well as getting stuck into miscoating, the outside of the house was looking very tired. It was like this, what's the word, like magnolia color. It was dirty. It's obviously been painted a few years ago. There's nothing that a lick of paint can't fix, rather than like, you know, getting it rendered and like going into thousands and thousands of pounds. So I just got brilliant white exterior paint and we're just giving it a nice top up. And I did this whilst we had a little bit of good weather, because again, nobody wants to be outside painting in the rain. To be cost effective, I was able to do a lot of this myself. I enlisted some help for the front. Shouts out to JB, who was able to help me do the front, and then I was able to do the back. But it takes some time, and I learned a few lessons in terms of the bristle brushes that you use. You needed to get like an extra length masonry paint brush to get real in between the pebble dash. Otherwise, it just absorbs so much paint. But I was able to do that on the weekend, and it literally took me a weekend to do it and saved me a little bit of the costing on the exterior paint job. So I'm really happy with it. I think it's uplifted the house. I think it looks visually so much better. I'm actually going to get Ryan, our plasterers, to kind of render the outside pebble dash, just because there's been chips away. Like, we've made the opening for the door a bit smaller with engineered bricks. So just to kind of neaten up that old extension, I'm actually going to get the plasterers to render that. But I didn't think it was worth rendering the whole of the house, so we just painted that bit. So I'm excited to kind of see what that looks like. I think it will tidy it up. The electricians are putting 2 really nice new lights outside. So we're just sprucing it up, guys. We're just sprucing it up. We're working with what we have and we're sprucing it up. I'm not saying cut corners. If you want to cut costs, I do think it's beneficial to do the light, easy tasks that you can manage, and enlist your family and friends to be able to support. And like having an extra tall ladder and getting up there and, you know, buying a couple of cans of exterior white paint, and on a sunny weekend painting the external of the house. Honestly, it saved me, like, I would say, if not £1,000 to £1,500, because that's what people would have been quoted. Guys, I'm telling you, this Brexit, yeah, we'll get into a whole nother video on Brexit under a cost of contractors and works, because it is ridiculous and it's painstakingly difficult to find quotes that are within your budget. I'm not gonna lie, guys, like the budgets that people are quoting for works these days is astronomical. It's astronomical. In the premise of being able to help out, support the building team, again, like any little bits that need to be picked up, or like ways that we can save on coins, I'm happy to jump in. So like Wix, I'm not gonna lie, Wix, this sale, like, again, this is not an ad. They are not paying me to say this. I got all my tiles in Wix. Like, the Wix sale, I even got a bit of extra just to have, you know, just in case anything happens or one cracks or you need to swap one out or whatever. Like, I bought some extra. All the concrete boards, like, there's things that sometimes are actually cheaper to buy in Wix than they are at like some of the real trade stores like Screwfix or Toolstation, for example. It's really local to my house. I do have a Trade Pro discount, so I get 10% off. So thanks to the Wix team, I think it's always an enjoyable experience going in there and being able to get anything that we need. You guys are going to see like some of the trims and the trimmings that we've been able to source from Wix and use in a real decorative way in the house. So stay tuned for that. As you can see, things are progressing. All the flooring is down now. We went for laminate laminate flooring in the bedrooms, and I have to say that it is looking really, really strong. The en-suites are also looking really, really strong. Now that we're into the decorative phase, I feel like all my mood board that I put together, things are really kind of complementing each other. We've got the black accents, we've got the oak laminate flooring. We're going to use the custom color, which is like a mix between like an olive green and a beige. It's the TTYA color from B&Q. And I feel like it's all complementing each other. The ceilings are going to be white. The bathrooms are going to be white to really brighten up the space and make them feel more roomy. Going back to our values that we had at the beginning of a functional, minimalist, functional space. I feel like it's all kind of coming together, and I think the flooring is really looking mwah. The doors will all be white. The door handles are black. The staircase, I'm going to do black. I'm going to do a runner on the stairs, paint the sides white. I've been in conflict about the runner because people have been saying, oh, just do full stairs, like it's not worth it. But there wasn't that much of a cost difference between doing the full stairs and doing a runner. So again, for the premise of aesthetics, I'd rather just do a house that I feel confident and happy about. So I think it looks really strong. Things are starting to come together. So I'm going to show you guys like, you know, the laminate flooring and how the kind of different accents are kind of all coming together. The renovation is renovating. It's all coming together. And I know I say that a lot, but I did originally hope that all of the works would be done in the 6 months. We're at the 6-month mark, and unfortunately, guys, I'm over my timeline. I do feel like there's just a decorative piece left to do now, and the installation of the kitchen and just pulling in all the last little pieces. But I am hoping to have this done like within the next 4 weeks, and for everything to kind of pull together now and get finished, because again, I'm on a bridge. So the quicker I get it done, the more of that interest that I get back. So keen to kind of refinance and get tenants in and get everything going. So join us next week to be able to see what the paint jobs are looking like, what the kitchen install is starting to pull together and look like, and just all round like the progress that we've made. Because I think it is important to look back. When I look back at some of these videos and see like from day one to where we are now, like you can really see the progress. So we're going to have a little bit of a recap and go from before and afters and see how we are and where we are. So stay tuned, guys. Like I said, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscription button. Make sure that you guys are subscribing so you get the notifications, and you guys are invested in me as much as I'm invested in you. This is Casattya TTYA. All things home rental renovations. Get into it. Get into it. Get into it. I'm your girl Irene TTYA, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.